Invited to the second Nigerian Diaspora Direct Investment Summit. Keynote address and launch of the London shopping mall. Dr. Segun Aganga, Minister of Trade and Investments. Launching of the Nigerian Diaspora Export Programme, NDEP. Launching of the outline of eminent Nigerian series. Legacy of Dr. Saki Dahatu Tafida, Linda Chalker, Boronus Chalker. Thorn-Tahara Hotel, London, Kensington. Sarkistel Palace, Kensington. The date, 12th of June and the 13th of June 2014. 07957 871 470. More information, register at www.nddis.com.
Politics, a live phone-in program with Kade Ogudamisi. Every Thursday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Ben Television. Never a dull moment this summer on Ben Television, Bridging the Gap channel.
You're watching Ben Television, the Bridging the Gap channel.
Of mine, Nigeria on my mind, born in diversity, blessed beyond compare. Ooh, through these 100 years in our unity.
This is Ben Television. My name is Jideonwo Ogundamisi. It's your program, Politics with KO. Thursdays on this channel, Sky 182. Don't miss the debates by Nigerians and friends of Nigeria on issues. Hello, good evening. You're welcome to Politics with KO. My name is Jideonwo Ogundamisi. It's another Thursday, another interesting topic today. We're going to try and get away from the usual negative stories about Nigeria. Today we're going to be talking about young Nigerians. What are they doing differently? How are they going to make the country better than it is today? And the topic is, can young Nigerians save Nigeria? We've got Jideonwo from Nigeria, who's going to join us in the studio at some point. And we'll have a flavor as to what is happening around young people in Nigeria. What are they doing differently from the generations Wole Soyinka described as the wasted generation? First, there is news from Nigeria, breaking news from Nigeria, unverified though, that Gombe State Government House was bombed. Some are saying it's a tanker explosion, but it's unconfirmed. But we're just having clear reports from Nigeria saying in Gombe State there appears to have been an explosion around or within the government house. Let me just take you straight to Ngozi. But before we go to Ngozi, I just also want to inform you that there's an interesting message to African leaders from Paul Kagame, the Rwandan leader. We'll show that to you too. But let's have Ngozi. Ngozi, how are you today?
I'm very okay, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Are you sure? Yeah. It's a joke. Anyway, good evening, everyone. Yes, as you said earlier, I'm looking forward to hearing that message that you just said earlier. So it's going to play in a minute. In the meantime, what I have to say is about the Boko Haram militants who have been said to have dressed like soldiers and have reportedly killed many villagers in 3 separate attacks in Borno State in northern Nigeria. Apparently, we're getting reports that some of them came in dressed as soldiers, militaries, and came in pickup trucks, and some of them in motorcycles as well. And we're told, they told the civilians that there were soldiers who were there to protect them. And then what happened was they rounded them up and started shouting and shooting at them until they killed many people. The massacre, obviously, because of lack of telecommunications and good roads, the word about this event did not get out to Maiduguri in a while, or for a while. And as we know, the Goza regional area is a political area, political center, and the emir was killed, whose emir was killed, I think, a week ago in an ambush. Well, this latest attacks, of course, comes after the Nigerian army denied that several generals have been tried and found guilty for aiding the military group Boko Haram by supplying them with arms and information. Meanwhile, President Goodluck Jonathan has been criticized for not visiting the region, although he has spoken out against the actions of the militants. That's where I'm going to leave it for now, because Kay has a lot. Meanwhile, actually, having said that, this afternoon, Kay, did you hear about the fire in the Shard?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, well, the smoke. It wasn't really a fire. They had to evacuate about 900 people. So far, there's not been any casualties that we've been informed of, but I think everybody's fine. Can you imagine the disaster if 900 people were to get injured in the fire?
That's horrific. Yeah, Ngozi, thanks as usual.
Thank you.
We just want to say to you that after today's show, we're going to be away for 2 weeks, and we're going to have repeat editions, very interesting repeat editions for those 2 weeks. It's all part of our efforts to make sure that we give you a very rich program, get more content from inside Nigeria, because we just don't want to stay in the studio in London. We want to be on the ground and monitor what's happening, get those raw footages that we always deliver every week, courtesy of kind Nigerians like you who just keep faith with this program. But tonight it's about young Nigerians. What are they doing for the Nigerian people? What are they doing for themselves? And we've got a competent person to speak about this topic. It's a Jideonwo. He founded Enough is Enough with some young people in Nigeria. He's an author, lawyer, more or less an activist, an entrepreneur, and it will be interesting. I always describe him, Judah and his group as a conservative element in Nigeria, but they're doing quite some wonderful work, and it will be nice to hear from him. But first, let's go and hear from Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. Leaders, why should we go to Paris when we can solve our problems ourselves? It was an address to a special sitting of the African Union. Just watch this, please.
Causes of conflicts, and actually have quite a good idea as to what is needed for such a conflict to be resolved. Now, the question is, if we have analyzed conflicts and the causes, if we really have a good idea what all this constitutes, then what? So it comes, therefore, to the point that the leaders, therefore, should be there to deal with these problems. And here I'm not even proposing that there is one leader who can resolve conflicts alone, or that there is even a silver bullet for these conflicts. Therefore, it's the management of all these processes and what we have identified to be the root causes. But of course, when it comes to Africa, I'm sure many people in this audience will have made the same observations. I think we must take responsibility and accept our failures in dealing with these matters. For example, relating to what President Obasanjo has just said, on the case of Boko Haram, or you can use that for many other cases. For me, when I'm watching on television, and I find our leaders who should have been working together all along to address these problems that commonly affect their countries, wait until they are invited to go to Europe to sit there and just You know, it's like they are made to sit down and address their problems. Why does anybody wait for that? What image does it even give about us, about Africa? In fact, the image it gives is that we are not there to even address these problems. We are there for a photo opportunity. We are happy to sit there in Paris with the president of France and address and just talk about addressing problems. It doesn't make sense that our leaders cannot get themselves together to address problems affecting our people. It doesn't make sense. Of course, I'm saying this painfully. On the other hand, that well, I look forward for the time when I can be like the two former presidents. I think they are more free to say things than I do. Being where they are and me being where I am. So I tend to remain with some reservations about what I have to say because, but I think there is that serious problem. African leaders, we don't need to be invited anywhere to go and address our problems without first inviting ourselves to come together to tell each other the actual truth that we must tell each other about our serious problems. So, I mean, again, look at the problem of South Sudan, indeed. The first problem was about this country and the people there wanting to be independent. They got independence. Now that turned into a problem. How? So you have one war being fought, waged to be independent, then you have to fight another when you have achieved independence. Just fighting among.
Yeah. Hi, you're welcome. It's still your program, Politics with KO, and I've got with me in the studio Jideonwo. Shude, my Igbo is a bit, it's pathetic, isn't it?
No,
how do I, is it?
It's Jideonwo.
Jideonwo, okay,
yeah.
My apologies. Now, you watched that clip.
Yes, I did.
Did you wish that was your president?
Well, not necessarily. I just am awed by the courage of Paul Kagame.
Yeah.
Because usually in this, there are committee of presidents of African nations.
Yeah.
There is a paucity of truth, you know, and, you know, being a smaller nation, you know, many of these nations are afraid of talking to big nations like ours. And so it's pretty remarkable that he found it within himself to say this, probably because General President Obasanjo was in the crowd. Yeah. So he felt he could speak with freedom. But it's remarkable to see him say that.
You've heard President Jonathan speak, and I want to try and avoid mentioning President Jonathan in this program today. But I can't, with the privilege of someone who's you've met with him, does that, any familiarity?
Well, first, I mean, many leaders don't, there are many leaders who don't have who can't speak eloquently. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a plus, but then there are many who can't. Unfortunately, it's not the way that President Jonathan speaks that's the challenge. It's what he does that's the challenge. I wouldn't mind a president who was inspiring me with action and was less inspiring with words. It would be perfectly understandable if his actions spoke for themselves. Okay. So that's the challenge that I have with this particular president. Okay,
let's start with Enough is Enough. Tell me the story about...
Incidentally, I was just reading it in the book coming here, the article, the piece Hitting Send. It was when former late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua had disappeared from the country for 3 months. I was in London. We finished the Future Awards in January. At the time, we had, what's her name? And the coordinating minister of the economy, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, was the keynote speaker. She was at the World Bank at the time. And she had just shared information that was actually public knowledge, but we didn't know. Many of us who were young people, that 70% of our population was under 35, and then we had the majority. And so when I came back from London after the Future Awards, and I came back, the president was still missing after 3 months. You know, the fuel crisis, there was the fuel crisis. There was 6,000 megawatts promised by December. They hadn't shown up. there was the carnage in Jos. Women were going naked on the street because they were losing their children. Just a state of anomie in the country. And the people who were protesting were Professor Patutomi, Professor Wole Soyinka, Pastor Tunde Bakare, and I felt sorely ashamed of myself as a young person that these were the people on the streets while I was busy running my business and all of that. So I sent an email to a few friends of mine and said, can we, it doesn't make sense. Awards have their purpose and they're great and they have been there for 9 years, but this particular problem needs to be solved with something more urgent and more practical, and so I said, could we come together and show that young people wouldn't be docile anymore, not activists, but young professionals, young celebrities, young business people. Could we come together and make a statement that this was unacceptable? That's how Enough is Enough came into being.
Now, Enough is Enough started on the streets.
Yes.
But it's more like an office-based organization now, like the usual Nigerian NGO, stay behind the computer, get some fundings internationally, be on Twitter. But for an organization that had such a grassroots beginning, why such a backward step?
Well, I'm sure Jideonwo, who is executive director of Enough is Enough, would agree. We disagree violently with you. At each point in time so it's a mix of strategies. We were on the street for Occupy Nigeria, mobilizing young people in Ojota, in Surulere, in Ibadan, in Ikoyi, getting the Ajebotas out from their homes. We have been part of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. I joined the rallies in Abuja, I joined the rallies in Lagos. Madam Olekun has practically not spent any time in the office over the past few days. Benga Sheson, all the other leaders of Enough. So we found ourselves in the office when need be. Maybe we are trying to move young people to vote. We're trying to cut RSVP videos. We are trying to do all of that. But then when we need to be on the streets over and over again since 2010, we've been on the streets, from Free Siakson to, like I said, Bring Back Our Girls, Occupy Nigeria, and all of that. Okay,
we're going to come to your book in a moment. First, let me ask you this, and this is the core of this debate, this discussion today. Can young Nigerians save Nigeria?
I believe that any Nigerians, so obviously I'm ready for that question because that's the topic of the show. I believe that any group of Nigerians can save Nigeria. One of the things that I hate to hear and that disgusts me deeply is when older Nigerians in their 80s or in their 60s, especially in their 50s, say to me that they've lost faith in their generation and they're looking to my generation. Nobody gave you the right to give up on Nigeria. As long as you are alive and breathing and capable of work, you cannot give up on Nigeria. You cannot outsource the solutions to Nigeria's problem to my generation. There was no generation anointed to change Nigeria. So, young Nigerians, old Nigerians, older Nigerians, any of us, if we have enough of us in numbers committed to truly changing the country beyond cliches, we are capable of changing the country. Now, can young Nigerians change Nigeria? Yes, we can. If we are serious, and committed on a long-term basis in enough of our numbers to that imperative.
Okay, when we look at young Nigerians, we would see businessmen, politicians, people in the judiciary and the police. Are they acting any different from the older generation? Because corruption does not seem to reduce. The new pastors, young pastors, are not different from the billionaire pastors. Can we really restrict it to age? Is it an
I've never believed that Nigeria is going to be changed simply because somebody was born after 1980. Like Fashola succinctly said in the last debate, it's not their age that's the problem, it's the age of their ideas. And I've always said that a young person who is born, the son of a politician who was born into corruption, seeing his father siphoning funds, appropriating money, getting away with it, is not going to be different simply because he was born in a different time. It's going to be different if he gets a set of different values. Now, there are young people, young pastors, I'm looking at my friends like Jideonwo Akinyemi and others, they are young in politics who are different. The problem is that they are not enough. We don't have enough in the numbers to form a critical, even minority, that can move the needle. The problem is that there are too many people who are satisfied, understandably, with the way the system is. It's like myself talking to other businessmen and saying, why are other young businessmen not on the streets for Bring Back Our Girls? And people are saying because they are so busy running their business. And I said, this is exactly what happened in 1980 and in 1990 and 1970. People just focused on their silos. Unfortunately, there are few of us who understand that changing the country cannot be outsourced to people called activists. So it is, can we find enough of us in numbers? Can we convince enough of us or shame or embarrass or blackmail enough of us to come together and change?
You've made one important point, and that is the debate online, the difference between an activist and a business person who is interested in change, and that's always been an argument. I've even had young Nigerians of your generation, I'll call out Omojua, who said, I'm not an activist, I'm just someone interested in change. Is that not a cover for not wanting to be accountable, the accountability that comes with being called activism? You know, if you call yourself an activist and you're doing business with government, then people will frown. Is there a cover?
It's a question that I've had to struggle with, and it's part of my book. Now, I can understand why people like Omojua say so, because nobody wakes up one morning and says you want to be an activist, because maybe you're a young person who is a blogger, but you are concerned about your country. And so you want to do the little that you can, unlike your mates who are sitting down comfortably and enjoying their lives. And then suddenly, you have a different set of responsibilities that you didn't plan for, and you are resistant to that. So it's normal, it's understandable. Now, in my own case, I struggled with it for a bit, but now I've accepted whatever people choose to call. You know, is it activism, is it business? I wake up every morning, it's like Bring Back Our Girls, for instance. I wake up, I'm running a business, I'm running Nigeria.com, I'm running correct communication for our corporate clients, and I wonder to myself, how can I be comfortable just doing this if there is a bigger problem? Now, there is the responsibility. We begin to learn as we grow that for every action that you take, there is a responsibility attached. So it's now for those of us who choose to be active citizens to understand that with choosing to do that role, it comes a certain responsibility and expectation.
I'm going to ask you a direct question. Do you do business with the Nigerian government?
I do business with the Nigerian government, yes.
Do you do business with Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala?
I have done business with the Ministry of Finance, yes.
Okay. Do you do business with the petroleum minister?
No, never.
Okay.
Never.
Now, do you, at some point when you do business with people in government, and you still have to maintain your stance and your position, do you find any conflict of interest?
Yes, oh, absolutely. I've lost relationships, I have lost trust, I have lost friends. I have found people in government who think that I have betrayed them because I chose to take a stand when it mattered. But I've said, and I don't blame them. Look, we want to change our country, we don't want to pay a price. If I don't want to pay a price for taking a stand, then I don't take a stand. And it's perfectly legitimate if I choose to run my business like that. But if I choose to take a stand and I lose relationships because of that, I understand why I have to pay that price. I don't complain too much about it.
Before John comes in, who is our first caller, do you also get flags from people who ask you, why are you doing business with government?
Oh, absolutely. I do get flag all the time. You know, like I said, I'm almost like I'm like a life test for the issues that we face as we grow older, which is, I am a business person first and foremost who chooses to be involved in the nation's issues. As I go along, conflicts will arise. The issues, I now need to find how to resolve those issues with integrity and with character, choosing what the right thing is to do. So, Bring Back Our Girls comes up. Do I choose to keep quiet because of my relationships with government, or do I speak out and damn the consequences? Those are questions I have to answer on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, let's hear from John, who is our first caller. Good evening, John. Hello, John. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much for your program.
Thank you.
Okay. I love this program that you bring, especially today's topic.
Okay.
And my own contribution is just a very small contribution, and I want all of us to think about it very well. I always say that each time I call, people ignore it. We need to go back to our old system that's been given to us by the British. Without that, no matter how we generation have an idea, it will not work well.
Okay, and what, John, sorry, what system is that? What's the system?
Okay, you see, to be honest with you, I'm not hearing you well, but I'm not on the close to my TV. I'm in the other room, but I'm not hearing you well. But I will contribute my point, then I will off the phone.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, John.
You see, this system is not a system that can bring talent out as an individual in Nigeria. This system we are running as in Nigeria. We just need to go back to that system. Don't let us shy away from it. We young children, don't let us shy away from it. This system cannot bring any good thing out from us. You see, environment matters in the life of children. Environment matters. Nigeria environment cannot bring anything out.
Okay, John, I'll let you go so that
you may have a program where you will have money. Maybe
John, I'll let because we want other callers to call in too. John has got a point. Maybe he's referring to
the parliamentary
before
system.
Now we had the parliamentary system, the regional government. Every region, each region were able to grow at their own pace. There was a very positive competition. Awolowo created a University of Ibadan. Tafawa Balewa reacted with Ahmadu Bello University. Is it the system? Is it something like?
Well, I have a bias towards regional autonomy, and what people have called true federalism in terms of how our nation was first governed before we got here. But people must remember that even under that system of government, it was the corruption revolting from that caused General Lunzogu and all the other people to topple the government. So it didn't appear like citizens at that time were particularly impressed with the way the country was being governed. I think that if we have competent leaders who have character, integrity, and are effective, they will find a way within any system of government they are given to make a country better and then to move that country to a system that works. We're struggling to, I doubt that, I don't think that Nigerians basically are thinking that the problem of this country, the reason why there is corruption in the oil sector is because we're not in a parliamentary system of government. I think it's simply because we don't have enough people in that sector with the commitment to act with integrity and competence.
Now, you as a young person, you do business with government, with ministries. Do you notice corruption both at the lower level, middle level, and the upper level?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't gotten that close, because the job that we do is a communication job. So, so we are basically communicating already an already existing end, so to speak. It's already been concluded. But anybody who gets close to government in Nigeria, which is one of the articles I put here, busting the bubble, a theory about those who lose their heads in government, is you notice that there is not just corruption, there is obscenity. There is an obscene level of wealth and loose monies and unaccounted for monies that circulate around the seat of power, intoxicates people, makes them lose their sense of balance, makes them begin to speak in tongues that they were not speaking before they got into government. More than anything else, there is the waste and obscenity that had begun to be cut off in the government of Olusegun Obasanjo has returned. It's like a pot of soup with so much oil. And that is the major intoxicant that lets people in government lose their heads.
What inspired you? This book, Are We the Turning Point Generation? Can you summarize it in
It's just basically after 2010, when I stumbled onto issues of good governance and active citizenship, I began to do a lot of things. It was just me trying to think about the things I was doing a bit more deeply, the conflicts that had arisen, the mistakes that I had made, the things that I had learned as a young person, and trying to think, how will I do better than people who were there before me in this same situation? That's what inspired me to write the book.
Okay, great. We've got another caller on the line. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Oh, hello, good evening. My name is Douglas and I'm calling from Sheffield in the UK.
All right, go ahead, Douglas.
Yeah. Greetings, Kayode, and also greetings, Chudi, as well. I think you guys have a great show today. I'm always really inspired when I see young people like Chudi who are really passionate about change in Nigeria. I think I want to say a big thumbs up to him. I think he has said some critical things, and one of them is that, number one, the process of change in Nigeria is actually going to be a process. And he said something about having a critical mass of people. And I think slowly, that critical mass is building up slowly and slowly. And like I said, I always say, we will get there. It's just a matter of time. And I think the other important thing is about engagement. I love the way Chudi engages with the system and doesn't stay aloof. Do you understand? You have to engage with the system and find a way. Do you understand? Because you have to work within that reality so you can move to a new reality. Well, I think generally, I just want to say that, man, you guys are doing great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Douglas. Thanks for calling from Sheffield. And Shude, let me ask you this. And Douglas did mention a point. The way you engage the system is quite different from the way we're described as a radical end. Some people say our method is not fit for purpose for this generation, as in we just believe, go ahead, break the wall, that it's the method, the new method of using social media, engaging, going into the system, What's your view on that?
I don't believe in a single solution to Nigeria's problems. I don't believe that there is any one superior method.
Yeah.
I think that we need a series of engaged, competent people with character. And they are going to engage from different angles. We need people inside of government working from inside out to change it. We need people outside of government demanding better angrily, you know, so that we know they stay at the ideal and they continue to insist that the government lives up to that ideal. We need people in the stopgap who are engaging with their reality and drawing their reality closer to this reality. The day that any of us thinks that our way or the highway, that's the day we miss it. So all of us working towards the same solution is what I think will solve this problem.
Okay, we've got another caller. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Kayode. This is Chooks calling from London.
Okay, hold on. Let's get Chooks first. Chooks, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted...
Calling from, please.
My name is Tony. I'm calling from Manchester.
All right, go ahead, Tony.
I just want to ask your guest in the studio how we can justify working for a government is criticizing. Okay. Is there any morality in that?
Okay, I'll have him answer that. He wants to know, how can you justify working for a government or doing business with the same government you're criticizing?
Well, first, let me answer the first caller who said, I disagree with autonomy. I didn't say that. I said, I have a bias towards it. I agree with it, but I don't believe that is a single solution to Nigeria's problems. I believe that if we have enough people with integrity and competence, that, you know, so I just wanted to clarify that. Now, in this question, I find it a false dichotomy, you know, that says that it's like saying, like, criticize McDonald's and then I go and eat in McDonald's. Look, you want to criticize something not because you hate it, but because you want it to be better. You know, and so if I choose to engage, it's because I don't hate the system. It's like I was tweeting 3 days ago. I say it's a tragedy that some of my friends in this government have begun to call me an enemy of government simply because at this point in time, I never said I was, there was never, because you agree with somebody at some point doesn't mean you will not disagree with the person at certain points. But I believe that the independence of my voice is crucially important. Like I said, if sometimes it leads to me sacrificing certain relationships, then they are worth sacrificing.
Okay, I've got another caller on the line. Good evening. I think we've got Wale on the line. Good evening.
He has shown me personal goodwill, but I've said that the system of multiple taxation under the Lagos state government that began from the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is inimical to the progress of small businesses in the state. I have said that. I have been critical of the way that Governor Jideonwo handled the takeover of schools like Mayflower, my alma mater, in Ogun State. I have found the actions of Governor Peter Obi in terms of his modesty in office and the way that he has changed the fortunes of Anambra State in terms of education and enrollment of boys in schools admirable. So they are not mutually exclusive. We should demand better of the national central government, and we should demand the same of those in the state. And there are lots of NGOs in the states who are doing incredible work in those areas.
All right, great. I think I've got another call on the line. Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from, please? Okay. Hello, you'd have to just turn off the volume of your TV, so just reduce the volume so we can have a conversation. Where are you calling from? Okay, let's have what's going on social media. We've got Twitter says, well, I agree with Shude to an extent. We need to change our attitude. As Ogbeni Dikpo says, if the president is incompetent, is an incompetent leader, governors and if the president is a competent leader, governors and ministers will sit up. And we've got citizen journalists saying, Abiero says, I disagree with Shude on his assumption that regional government is not good. I think a lot of people are misunderstanding your position on regional government. But we still encourage people to call in. Shude, one of your articles that I've actually read and I find interesting is your letter to the president, we are watching you. And it's 3.5 years. What's been your observation? You've been watching for about 3 years.
No, we've not just been watching, we've been asking, you know, we've been demanding better. Enough is enough. Nigeria has took the former minister Stella Odua to court, you know, when we made the Freedom of Information request after the whole scandal of her vehicles. Enough is enough. Nigeria has, like I said, was a key part of Occupy Nigeria. In fact, began to demand for accountability in the oil sector and cutting of government waste before the Occupy Nigeria protests became in the mainstream. Nigeria earlier this year, we found out that our response to insurgency had been broken and began to ask citizens for solutions to end terrorism. So we haven't just been watching. Like I said, we are watching and we are demanding better, and most importantly with facts, figures, and information.
Okay, let me ask you this. The first controversy attached to you was that dinner. Were you the one distributing money from President Goodluck Jonathan's and the transport allowance?
Absolutely not. If you remember, it was our reporters that reported that story, and I wrote a rejoinder, and I challenged anybody to bring the information. I mean, like Antio Biazekwesili said at the time, it was my baptism of fire. I'd never been in a situation where somebody accuses me just of something I didn't do. It was just a shock to me. I wasn't part of the people who shared money. I wasn't part of the organizers of the event. I wasn't even in the hall when the money was shared.
You were aware that money was shared?
I'm not, well, I heard that money was shared because I wasn't there physically. And I'm very worried, like I tell my friends, of accusation. But
have you met anyone that says they collected money?
Well, one of my friends at a public event said she collected the money because she had to pay salaries for her staff. So that means church. So evidently money was exchanged. But
have you had one-on-one meetings with the president?
When I interviewed him for Y Magazine, yes.
Okay. Were you paid for that?
No, I wasn't paid to interview the president. No.
Because I just wonder how it's arranged. When people go into Aso Rock, like our good friend Femi Fanika, they just went in, and they come out different. But you seem to have had a balance, or struck a balance, trying not to be for or against, but just take a stand. How do you maintain that stand?
I don't know. Like I say, I'm learning as I go. And I don't know whether I'm going to pay a huge price for it. I don't know. I look at my mentors in business and I see the way that they stand aloof from criticizing government. So they must know something that I don't know. But I just find it extremely difficult as a human being. I don't know what I'm expected to do if I see something that is wrong and it's clearly against what I believe in. I was raised up to demand better, and I'm sure that it will cost me a lot. If you look at the life of MK Abiola, at several, I started my career from the news. And the news started because, Babangida asked those Bayan Aniga and others in the Concord to apologize. The businessman wanted. So there are prices to be paid. There's a price to be paid. But I just don't think I have a choice. If I see something that is wrong, I think I have a responsibility to see
now,
it.
Let me ask you this question. When we talk about Nigerian youths and most of the organizations that claim to fight for Nigerian youth, they are just like the southern press. Everyone seems to be based in southern part of the country. There doesn't seem to be a true voice from youths in northern part of Nigeria. Who's going to speak for young people in the
It's one of the challenges of our engagement, and I'm willing to accept that. But I say that I can only be more effective in my area of strength and experience, and even in the Southwest, there are huge areas of the Southwest and the Southeast that are yet untouched by activism. Like Malam Abdullah Jablai challenged me at my book launch. There are people in Southwest Nigeria who have not heard of Enough is Enough Nigeria. Now, the challenge is to be able to inspire our peers, our friends, our associates in the north of the country. And there are a few people that have done that, Sali Utanko Yakasai and others. So I agree that much of this is not in the north, but I think that the Bring Back Our Girls movement is beginning to attune our minds to the fact that there is so much to be done in the north.
Okay, before I let Clara, I've got to call her Clara, but before I let Clara come in, I've got this interesting tweet which says, and it's from @BlueSwami. I hope you gave NBC at Shude's details 24 hours before this interview. that is actually reflecting the new clampdown on Nigerian media houses by the Nigerian government, represented by the Broadcasting Corporation. Apparently, Nigeria now, before you invite someone to the studio for any live program to talk about politics, you must give the government 48 hours notice through the NBC. Let's have Clara. Clara, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Sheffield.
All right, go ahead, Clara.
Most thank you and Chudi for being on that program. I like the topic, talking about young people, whether they're able to, make Nigeria go forward or whatever. Yeah. But what I want to contribute is Nigerian youths have a lot to do in Nigeria, but then they could not do it without the help of the elders, because we don't want to solve a problem and then come back to that problem tomorrow, because there's a lot going on, as in Western influence on Nigerian youth so much. And we need Nigerian youth to sit down to know the culture of Nigeria. Because that's the only thing that people envy in us, because we have a unique culture in Nigeria. And I would also want to say that Nigeria would not be better, divided or have this regional government. Nigeria is Nigeria. We can't run away from it. It's a big problem. It's pathetic when Nigerian leaders want to solve problems. They don't even do basic research on what Nigerians really think. I haven't seen the government sponsoring individuals to do some research. They just get information, just on rumors, and they just base their decision on rumors. And it's a shame because there's no authentic research about what people really think or what people really want. They just assume, and it can never solve problems like that.
All right, thanks, Clara. Thanks for calling. We really appreciate your call, and that's a fair point.
Yes, I want to talk about that. Remember you asked me if I had done things with the Ministry of Finance, and I'm very open to saying those things. And I've engaged. I'm a director of a company that has engaged professionally with the presidency. We've worked with Buhari. We worked with Buhari campaign, Ribadu campaign, and all of that. And I've worked with the president. I've worked in it's not true that the government doesn't commission research. We might say that they've not commissioned enough or they're not doing enough, but it's not, because when we say those things, the government becomes defensive and says we're not. They do research. They don't just do enough, or there's not enough rigor in applying to those things.
I think we've got another caller. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Where are you calling from and what's your name, please?
Yes, I'm Prince Akadia from Italy.
Okay, where in Italy are you?
I'm in Padova.
All right, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm watching your program on the television.
Okay.
I wanted to give my politics with scale. Is that not true? Is that true?
Yes, please, yeah.
Yes, I wanted to give my comment to, although he said we are not here to criticize Jonathan. Yeah. Jonathan has actually been doing well, but the only problem with Jonathan by, allowing those old egg like Tony Anene and others, working with him, actually making things to be difficult. I think Jonathan with the present situation with the Boko Haram issue, we have, quickly launched a more aggressive discipline in Nigeria, for, sense of comportment to every Nigerian. I think with this, kudos could be given to him for the job well done.
Okay.
That's just the comment I have.
Okay, thanks so much, and say hello to our people in Italy. And that's the point, that indiscipline is part of the problem we have in the society. And Jonathan is not doing enough. I've said today, I'm not going to talk about Jonathan, really, because it's becoming, you can't but help comment about the president at some point in time. Now, let me bring you to this book. We the Turning Point Generation. What you're going to have activities in London. You're doing a book tour around.
Yes, I am. Tomorrow, my friends at Gem Voices UK are hosting me for a reading, and I think there will be question and answer session amongst young Nigerians here from business and professionals and all of that. In Paris on Sunday, I'm also having a reading. Then I'm back to then I'm off to New York. Then I'm back to the UK on the 12th of July, when Nigeria Dialogue, who are my real hosts, are doing the official launch in the UK.
Okay, we've got another caller. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
This is Taiwo from Nigeria.
All right, go ahead, Taiwo. You're successful, isn't it? Callers from Nigeria.
Oh, yeah, finally.
Always find it difficult.
Let me just say this quickly. I must say you guys are doing a great job, and I'm actually happy I was able to call in today.
Yeah, thanks.
In fact, today is a very, very good guy, and I'm actually impressed. And he made one very important point, which I want to know. He said we need leaders with good character, with integrity, and we also need leaders with vision. I think that is all we need. Irrespective of whatever is going on, if we have leaders with this, with this traits, I tell you, we don't have limits. But when we have leaders who are so selfish and all they think about is their bellies or how they're going to make the next, million, then we have a long way to go. Our generation is actually, ready to make a change, but would they ever give us the opportunity to?
Okay.
I just want to end there.
Taiwo, thanks. Before you go, Taiwo, are you watching us on TV or online?
I'm actually streaming. I'm streaming, and I do this every Thursday. Thursday, and I'm very impressed.
Great, thanks for that. Yeah, so we always have our Nigerian callers trying hard to call in, and we're happy Taiwo made it today. Now, she obviously is impressed with your approach to. Well, there's still a long way to go, though. Corruption amongst the young people. We hear of people tweeting for a prize, campaigning for a prize rather than follow their conscience. How do we stem the tide?
You know, again, I am, like I was talking about, Japhet and the issues that he has faced. We are learning as we go, Before social media came, as a PR company, you could place a story for a client online, in a newspaper, and it would be legitimate PR practice. We are setting the rules for online engagement. It's like how one of the problems I have with President Jonathan, for instance, is he came into government and said he was tweeting himself. I found it completely unnecessary because Obama doesn't need to say he's tweeting himself. Now, in that whole pretense makes it difficult to fully disclose the way that I have fully disclosed the engagements that I have. So, yes, there is a line between claiming that you are claiming that this is your opinion when you've been paid for it, and tweeting as a professional, and being paid for it. Now, I think that the more we hold people to task and the more we demand full disclosure and transparency, the easier it will be to draw the line clearly as to what is professional and what is corruption. But it is by demanding those disclosures that we will now set the new rules.
Okay, now, there's one of your other articles. You took a stand, and I've been bashed about this a lot of time, the anti-gay law. You wrote an article on CNN, and you took a stand, and actually that's one of the moments I did agree with your position.
Yes, I remember.
You are based in Nigeria, and you took that risk, and my friend Fumi Inyoda, and quite a number of other people, including Ngozi Adeshi, the writer, Chimamanda Adeshi. How does it feel to live in Nigeria and take such a...
I faced it. My life was threatened. People called me gay as if it was an insult. And people say, you must be gay. And I'm saying, are you insulting me? I'm saying that there is nothing wrong with being gay. So telling me that I might be gay doesn't, so... I faced a lot of criticism and pushback. I mean, when I wrote that article, it was tough, even from clients, even from, in fact, I tell people that I faced more backlash from that article than from anything I've said against the Nigerian government. But I believe in what I said resolutely.
But why do we have such a homophobic, grounded...
It's fear. It's a fear, and I understand the fear. It's fear of people feeling that they've lost a grip on their values that they were born with. It's fear of the different. It's fear of the unknown. It's fear that has now been tainted by ridiculous lying pastors and all of that claim that it is a culture from the West. It's the fear of encroachment from the otherness, and culturally, even in America, you go to parts of Texas, you go to parts of Nebraska, go to parts of, parts of the core, the West, in the conservative areas of America, you find people who still have that fear that the gays are coming upon us. It's false. Now, it's our duty in terms of those of us who can influence minds and people to tell them differently, and sometimes with love. Sometimes I have had arguments with people on Twitter where I see them come to my point of view. I have had arguments with people in my office, my staff, who disagree with me on this issue, who I agree with at some point, I disagree with. I think that I understand the fear, but it's not legitimate because we're talking of human beings like
All right, I've got another caller on the line. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Oh, my name is Shegun, and I'm calling from London.
All right, go ahead.
Actually, like the way your caller has been answering his point. I like the way he's talking as well. What I would like to say is that there are some few things that I think we can do, basically, to help us to move forward. I look at the way our educational system is. I see a lot of graduates that graduate, and they don't have the basic skills, the basic requirements to be employable. So I think we can improve on that. Also, I think, as one of your callers has spoken, that vision is quite important. I think the government needs to look at, say, what is our core vision? What are we going to help our graduates, our young people? Basically, what skill set do we want to build them or develop? Because I actually work with a lot of people coming from all over from India They actually bring them to the UK to work here, yeah? But because they saw that basically they have the skill set, they've developed them.
Okay, on that note, I would have to cut you short because we're rounding up. Chide, what will be your last word?
I think that one of the tragedies, I came into the country, into the UK yesterday, and I passed through Nigerian airport, and the Murtala Mohammed airport has fallen apart. One of the tragedies is someone like Stella Odua. The system who is trying to be effective, but is now in a system that allows the kind of monumental corruption that swallowed her. We need a country that doesn't swallow people who are competent through its immense corruption.
On that note, Chide, I would like to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Viewers, that's the end of the show. Good night and God bless. See you when we get back from Nigeria. Bye. Good evening. You're welcome to Ben TV. My name is Kayode Ogundamisi. First, let me apologize for the fact that for some reason we had this technical problem that we had to play last edition to make sure we get everything set, because today is the day for the People's Democratic Party. And like everything about the PDP, there must always be some sort of technical issue anyway, so it's not a surprise, but we do apologize anyway. On this program, people have been saying, we get quite a lot of platform for the opposition party, even though I would say that we've actually given equal platform to sympathizers of the government, especially the PDP. We had Ankyo Briggs. We had quite a number of people that were actually close to the presidency. And twice we tried to get Reuben Abati on this program, but he had so much to do when he came to London, and he said
There can be many challenges in sending money abroad, from getting to an agent and completing paperwork to poor exchange rates with high transaction fees. At NetMoney, our unique Visa card-to-card money transfer account makes it